Joining us now, a great group. The president and the CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, political strategist, Mark McKinnon, and co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. She's a contributor to the Notice Perspectives column. Thank you all for being here. Mark,
thank you.
McKinnon, I'll start with you. I'm struck that Fox News poll, this is the highest disapproval rating the president has ever registered. That includes the height of the COVID pandemic. That includes the aftermath of January 6th. Americans simply do not like the direction he's taking this country.
Well, I know something about presidents and war. I've been through this, and I remember, of course, George W. Bush and the Iraq conflict, and how popular it was for about a month, and then straight downhill to, pretty historic ratings. But we've seen nothing like this, and it's difficult to talk about the politics of this right now because it's such an urgent conflict with such disastrous consequences potentially, but the politics are pretty clear, and that is it's bad now and it's only likely to get worse. Even if the conflict were to stop tomorrow, economists say that the downstream effects are going to last at least 200 days. In my calculation, that's about November. Right? Yeah. So it's not going to get much better under the best of circumstances for Trump.
And Mark Morial, Mark makes a great point. There's some echoes of what happened in the Iraq war, but that was a war, as you say, that was popular to start. The president at the time built a coalition. He built public support. He made his case for months as to why we should do this. Now, the American people soured on it eventually, but it was popular to start. This conflict was never.
President Bush followed the Constitution and got a war authorization from the United States Congress after discussion and a debate amongst the American people. He convinced the American people that Iraq was a threat. Now, we learned later the intelligence was faulty. In this case, the haste and the rush to war from a president who for years promised that he'd not get us into a war represents a flip-flop from candidate Trump to President Trump. And I think what the voters are saying is, we didn't elect you to do this. We elected you to deal with pocketbook issues, affordability, those things that really concern us. And you've basically flip-flopped on us, and you're focusing on war. You're focusing on the attacks on civil rights. You've taken the country in a direction inconsistent with what you said when you were a candidate.
And let's build on that. He's not focusing on the economy. Prices remain high. And we're seeing it again this morning on Truth Social. He's not focused on, like, for instance, the situation at the airports, which this week in this country has been the topic number one. Lines at airports 3-4 hours long. Americans unable to get home to their families, to get to work, to see their child's ball game. Easter and Passover are on the horizon. This is a crisis, and he doesn't seem interested in fixing it.
Apparently, America is not first. That's really what we take away from this, right? And the fact is, he didn't even try to make a case to the American people about why we were going to face increased prices at the gas pump, why there might be longer-term challenges for the country, why we're sending some of our sons and daughters overseas, and he's just increased the number of boots on heading towards the Middle East in the last week. He has not even tried to explain why the suffering is worth it. And then you have these joint catastrophes, the sort of mess of dysfunction at home, which people are really starting to see and feel. And, back to George W. Bush, those numbers are so significant because, remember, when George W. Bush's poll numbers hit that kind of level, what did we see? We had 8 years of a Democratic president. We had 4 years of a Democratic trifecta in the next election. This has very serious long-term consequences for Republicans, but Trump has made it clear he doesn't seem to really care. He does not seem to be concerned with what happens in the midterms. He's just not interested. He's trying to pull this war back, but it's going to be too little too late.
Well, and most Republicans suggest the House probably already gone, Senate may be, and the markets just opened at 9:30. And, we know the markets are not the entire economy, but they're down again. We can see here the futures right here. Look, they're down as we start this morning. We also, Mark McKinnon, we know that the price of oil up again.
Yeah, and there's no, as you look at the conflict, there's no real path for de-escalation. In fact, you could argue just the opposite. So, again, politically, there's just, again, Mark was saying, this is completely contrary to what Trump ran on. He was supposed to be the guy to keep us out of conflicts. We're in a conflict. There seems to be no way to get out of it. And TSA, I went to the airport to get here at 2 a.m. in Denver, and I've got to go to LaGuardia tomorrow morning. And you're right, voters are feeling the pain, and they're seeing it directly. And by the way, two Republicans, Ted Cruz and John Kennedy from Louisiana, went to the president with a very clear solution to this problem. They said, we've got this figured out. We can pay for TSA. We can fix the rest of it through reconciliation. Done. And Trump said no.
Yeah, Trump said no. And that's just it. He's really owning this crisis in a way.
That's a great to put it.
Not only is he owning
his.
the crisis, he's also acting inconsistent with really the value proposition of American democracy, which is that the president and the Congress are going to negotiate and try to find common ground and not just have lines drawn in the sand all over the place.
Yeah, and on that note, Mr. Mayor, in honor of America's 250th anniversary and to help citizens learn the tools needed to make informed decisions at the ballot box this November, the National Urban League has released a guide for defending democracy. The nonpartisan tool is meant to give people strategies to effectively vet potential candidates, including a list of questions for any person running for public office. What more can you tell us about it?
So 35 nonpartisan organizations, civil rights, social justice, economic opportunity, came together to ask, how can we give guidance to voters in this very crucial moment? And so what we did is we decided to promulgate 7 questions in 7 key areas: the Constitution, civil rights, freedom of speech, upholding the Constitution, for voters to guide their conversations at town hall meetings, with candidates, on podcasts, online, on talk radio. We want voters to be involved in the conversation. There's a sense of loss of hope amongst the American people. And so when I travel the nation, people say, how can we participate? What can we do? Yes, you're telling us to vote, but how can we be part of the conversation? So this guide is open, available to everyone at nul.org. And I'm proud of the assembly, multiracial organizations, multicultural across the board, that we put together to promulgate this guide.
All right. President and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, thank you so much. The Guide for Defending Democracy, available to read on your organization's website right now. Mark McKinnon, thank you as well. We wish you the best of luck at the airport. You should probably get going. The car is waiting out front. Lauren Leader, stick around for the next story because we want to get your take on another landmark ruling.